Hello everyone, I'm Graham Mabry. Welcome back to the Buzzbee beekeeping channel. Today we're going to be going from this, which is an empty frame, to this one, which is a wired frame. We're going to show you the techniques how we do it, and hopefully you'll get a tip or two from this. So let's get to it. This is one of the type of jigs that we tend to use on a regular basis, where we have a spool on the left hand side. In this case, this is a 500-gram spool, about a pound, I think, in weight of wire. But we also use 1 kg sizes as well, but the spool diameter that goes on the middle, the pin, is actually absolutely universal. When you start a wire off, you need to attach the wire. So that can be either done one, two ways, and we're going to show you two techniques. One is using paddle pins, just a pin straight in there. These are a little bit long than I like. These are about maybe an inch, about 25 mils. I tend to like them maybe about half that. That's more than enough. Maybe 20 mil is more than needed. And we're going to show you a technique how we do that first, and then we're going to show you another technique that we use more on a regular basis for a speed perspective. If you look very carefully, these two pins here, this is where it goes on the inside of the physical frame on one side of the bar. And then as we apply pressure, it creates a slight bend. Now that bend, and you wire it, you still create tension, but when you release it, it'll create even greater tension in the actual wires. And that's what we want, to try and increase that. So I'm just going to put under pressure now, so with the two pins in place, and we're going to start pushing it through. The other thing to be aware of is when you're lining this up, just make sure that trying to get that wire from there as straight as possible into that first eyelet. Now by doing that, it means that you've got less friction. If it's got quite an angle and it's coming from the angle this way, you find there's quite a lot of pressure and creating friction. So you're trying to minimize that friction as it goes through that first eyelet. So it's absolutely easy to roll through. Okay, so you get through that. Second one through. Sometimes giving a little bit more slack helps to get things rolling, but the idea is you pull, as long as everything is not too tight, it should roll through quite easily. And then get through here. Again, a little bit of slackness helps. With that, and then we come right through the last eye. In that one. Okay, now this is one technique you can use, which is using simply those panel pins. I'm going to use a hammer. Now this is a bit of an overkill with the hammer wise, but we'll do the same sort of idea. So one over the side. I'm going to go down till about 1/4 of an inch, about 5 millimeters. A little bit more. I'm doing the same on the other side, which is going to be that. So that's the start. This is going to be the end. Make sure obviously that the length of the paddle pin is not greater than actually obviously the bar. So again about 1/4 inch, about 5 mil, 5-6 mil. And now bring it over, wind it around about 2 or 3 times. You can use a long nose pliers or pliers on that one, it helps. Once you're done, like bend it over if you want to, but the idea is try and get it flush as possible. Now this is obviously a bit of slack here. By slowly winding this up, you create the tension. That's what we want, but the difficulty now is to try and get off here. So what I suggest to do is now keeping that tension in the wire on all areas, get your finger on the other side, push this down a bit further, and then release. So the idea is we're keeping that tension in place, keeping that finger there, and then come back, wind further, get rid of the slack over here, and keeping that tension. Come back here, repeat the same process again. Bend that wire, release, got the slack, wind further. Go around again, keep the tension again, swapping hands again, over that way. Going back, releasing that slack, and hopefully now we got it all there. Now the last one, obviously you have that panel pin in place, go in and around a couple of times. Now one way some people do it, actually they just simply wiggle, 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 and it eventually breaks by cold hardening it, or just simply a nice sharp pliers, and then again panel pin with a hammer to be nice and flush. So now you have the finished product. Now if you release that bar, again that bar is now gone straightened, and that's ready to go. So that's one way of doing it. For the next example, where we're going to use a slightly different method, we're going to be using a staple gun. So no more brad nails, no more hammers. You're just going to use this simple staple gun. There's about 3 different types of versions. You have compressor type, you have some that actually have a mains, straight to the main power supply, or you have a battery supply, which is what we got. So this allows us to use this in the field if we have to as well. What we have, this is 18 gauge. In this case, we have 16mm staples in there, ready to go. So the way it works, very similar to before. Let's compress it first. There we go. It allows us to speed up that side, which is the attachment point, and that's where we find we're losing time. So right round the wheels, around here, through the second wheel, again third line. When you get flow, you can, with this method, we can get a wide frame within about 60 seconds to maybe 1:10 minutes. So that's when you're really going. Okay, so what happens? Slightly over, do not exceed too much, just enough to over that width of the physical frame, or that sidebar. One single staple over the middle, and that is going to be strong. Particularly take the slack off the side here, and you find it very, very strong indeed. So if we, again, we reverse the process, and we're slightly winding the reel back, create that tension. Again, finger on it, keep that tension in the top wire, and simply repeat as before. Now this is where it's a little different again. Whilst it's still joined to the actual reel, you bend the wire back, keeping tension, and it gives you something to hold as well. Staple right in the middle, and then bend it back on itself again, and then cut. Now, because it's got a flat bottom, this is still sticking up. I tend to use basically a little bit like a hammer. And then that, release it. We should have now our new musical instrument there. Done. If you have any other questions, please let us know. I love a like if you can do it. If you like these type of videos, we'll try and do more. Happy beekeeping, everybody. Yes, all done.